Good morning, friends. I'm your own Dr. Didi Swai, professor, motivational speaker, and a best-selling author. 17th April 2019, the Twitter handle of Jet Airways says, and I quote, "We are sad to announce the suspension of all our domestic and international flights from today onwards." Now, ladies and gentlemen, how come this happened? The airline which started its journey in 1993, and by 2002, it becomes the number one airline company in the country, and in 2012, with 26.3% market share, it became number one company in the aviation sector. Then suddenly, within a span of 7 years, how come, it has come to this level that it has to cancel all its domestic and international flights? For your information, 61% of Jet Airways operation belongs to international operations. 39% revenue comes from the domestic operations. What happened? What went wrong? So in today's case study, we'll be going to have tremendous discussion on what went wrong. What made the king of the sky to vanish? It's a very, very interesting case study, ladies and gentlemen. But before we go to the case discussion, may I request all of you to subscribe my channel. If you have already subscribed my channel, wonderful. Thank you very much for your support in spreading the knowledge. But if you have not, then please subscribe below and hit the bell icon and listen the very interesting motivational videos, entrepreneurship videos, startup videos, business videos, brand videos, sales videos, and goes on. So these are all focus areas, and I'll be going to bring you very interesting cases in very, very capsule format. It will be helpful to the business school students, it will be helpful to the students, it will be helpful to the corporate executives, it will be helpful to the business school faculty and even MBA, BBA faculty to refer these cases and go to the class with preparation. So ladies and gentlemen, let's start the case. But before we go into in-depth analysis of what went wrong with Jet Airways, we have to see the Indian aviation sector. Since 20 years, I've been observing 13 companies have closed down their operations. Be it Baidut, be it Kingfisher, be it Air Deccan, be it Sahara, be it Damania, be it China, be it East West. When all these companies have closed their operations, 13 airline companies closed their operations in 20 years. How come? One or two companies might commit mistakes. Their proprietors might be committing mistakes. But how come 13 companies have closed their operations in Indian aviation history? Now it's my request to Government of India to interfere and do something about it. And we have got a fantastic government. This is the government with full mandate, and we have a fantastic leader. The one and only Mr. Narendra Modi ji. So it's my request to Honorable Prime Minister to interfere and create some kind of ecosystem whereby this industry will grow. Everybody in this industry is getting benefit except the airline, the company. This sector employs a lot of people. You see the Jet Airways case. 17th April 2019, Twitter handle talks about the suspension of all domestic and international flights. Next day, 22,000 employees are on the roads. Their future is in doldrums. On one side, they are with placards with their family to protest against the situation. And on the other hand, they are also requesting the Government of India to help them to come out of this particular situation. Indian aviation sector contributes $72 billion to the Indian GDP. And if you talk about the passengers, a previous year, in 1920, the passenger growth was 15%. in the international sector and 11% in the domestic sector, and overall year-on-year growth is 20%, and that's fantastic. It's one of the fastest growing aviation market in the world. Out of total passenger movement of 316 million, 260 million belongs to the domestic passengers, and the rest belongs to international passengers. So Indian aviation sector is doing wonderfully well, but the question is, why 13 companies have been closed in previous 20 years? Now time has come, the government has to collaborate with these private people, private partnerships, and do something about the industry. This is high time. The industry cannot bleed like this. Now let us talk why these 13 companies have been closed over a period of 20 years. The first reason is heavy taxes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, heavy taxes. 32%, 30 to 40% is the tax. I mean, you talk about parking, there is a tax. You talk about flying, there is a tax. You talk about food, there is a tax. You talk about service, there is a tax. You talk about anything, for anything and everything, there is a tax. Come on, man, how come the industry will survive with this kind of tax structure? So these tax structure need to be subsidized. Let's promote this industry, this beautiful industry. Let's promote this. Just imagine this is the only industry where your capital asset flies at the speed of 1,000 km per hour at 36,000 feet in the sky. I mean, just imagine the kind of risk these operators carry. Still, they have got an optimistic view about the scenario. And all these investments, if you see, all these 13 companies which have perished, and whatever companies are there in the market now, they have all started, except, the low-cost carriers. All these companies started in 1990s when the liberalization, privatization, globalization happened and the Indian economy got opened up. And that was the time when all these operators, entered into the market thinking that one day they will be going to reap the benefits. And they're right. Everybody else is reaping the benefits except the airline companies. They are bleeding. Now, why this is so? The first reason is severe taxation. I mean, for everything you have to pay tax, and it's very, very heavy tax. The second reason is the fuel cost. 50% of all your expenditures are contributed only from the fuel. The increase and decrease in the global fuel prices always hampers the business. The third point why this industry is bleeding and companies are closing down is a highly regulated market. I mean, government has got regulations for everything. You're not allowed to move freely. Starting from the timing of the planes, from the parking of the planes, from the movement in the bay and inside the airport. I mean, for everything, it's highly regulated by the government. So it has to be a little more liberal so that these players will grow and they earn money, and then only government will get benefit out of that. The fourth point is the price war between low-cost carriers and full-service airlines. Because of this low cost, I mean, the industry is bleeding. How low? Where, if you go through the 5 forces theory of Michael Porter's, if the bargaining power of the supplier and if the bargaining power of the buyer is not matched properly, then we're going to create problem for the operators. Now here, bargaining power of the buyers are tremendous. So they dictate the terms and conditions, especially the pricing. So low-cost carriers are having market share of 76% in 2019. So they are one of the major reasons for these full-service airlines to be closed. Now, another issue why these companies are closing is the lack of availability of the runways on the busy routes. Because when you are planning to fly another flight in the busy routes, we don't have airstrips. That is another issue. We have 125 operating airports, and all belongs to almost like Airport Authority of India. So this need to be increased to at least 500 airstrips. It's very important because the busy routes normally provide revenue to these companies. And if they will not be able to increase their flight frequency and number of flights, they'll be going to bleed at the bottom line. So it's very important for the government to build infrastructure. And because the infrastructure is costly, very few private companies are coming forward, but they are interested to do so if the government is supportive enough. So I think, government has to play a bigger role than ever to safeguard the interest of this industry. And see how many people are employed, how many suppliers, vendors, the periphery people, are involved in this, highly capital intensive sector. So government has to take care of this particular sector. Now, how many of you feel government should come forward aggressively and help these airline companies? How many of you feel that? I will request all of you to share your feelings. What do you exactly feel? What should be the role of the government about all these airline companies and the sector as a large? Please leave your comments below. The best 5 comments I will pick up and I will send you my best-selling book, Mantras of Managing Your Boss. You can access my website www.ddswine.com for further information. Before we move forward, let me request you once again, please subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed. If you have already subscribed to my channel, thank you very much for your help. Please don't forget to put the bell icon. And after the video, please share your comments and feedbacks in the comment section below. It's very important that you need to share your ideas to make videos much better in times to come. And if you want to see any particular topic in my videos, please do mention that also. That will motivate us to prepare better videos for all of you. So now, after finishing the first part, now you have got a fair bit of understanding what Indian aviation sector is all about. Now let's go to the Jet case study, in particular, our part 2. Here we will discuss why Jet failed. Now what do you think? Why Jet failed? Please leave your comments below. Now in 1993, on 5th May, the first flight of Jet Airways started from Mumbai to Ahmedabad. Very well. He started its operation with 4 Boeings. Now after that, there is no looking back. He was a very hardworking man. He was having tremendous relationship and public relation with different people around the world. So because of his efforts and unique selling proposition, he started offering value for money along with tremendous service. All of you know, the crew members are fantastic, the pilots are great, the aircrafts are outstanding. I mean, everything, the food, the ambience, everything was fantastic. And they did very well. By 2002, they become the market leader by putting Air India and Indian Airlines in the second spot. In 2003, the low-cost carriers like Indigo, SpiceJet, Go Air, I mean, these guys have entered into the market scenario, and their distribution model is different than this. Their distribution model is point to point, and they started operating with a very low fare, and it's no frills service. So you don't get food in the flight. You have to pay for everything. And because they are point to point distributed airlines, they are masters of their sectors, and their mantra is how many flights you can run during the day. If the number of flights are more, their unit price comes down. It's economies of large scale, ladies and gentlemen. The higher the frequency of the flights, the cost per unit comes down. So they are able to charge very low fares. In 2004, government has come up with a scheme. They've opened the operations for international arena, but they have come with a particular scheme called 520. You need to have 5 years of flying experience, and you need to have 20 numbers of fleet size. Now Naresh Goyalji was very optimistic to take its operation from domestic circuit to the international circuit, but he made a mistake there. He has overestimated his brand's presence in domestic market, but it was not the case. Without consolidating much in the domestic scenario or the domestic market, he has ventured into the international arena. So he was in search of an airline which will fight with low-cost carriers, because low-cost carriers are putting in a tremendous problem for the Jet Airways. When low-cost carriers entered into the Indian aviation sector, they were having almost 12% market share. By 2012, they were having 59% market share. By 2019, these low-cost carriers are having 76% market share. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it right, 76% market share. And it was giving a pinch to Mr. Naresh Goyal. So in 2007, Mr. Naresh Goyal, Jet Airways, acquired Air Sahara by paying 20 to 50 crores Indian national rupee. And it was one of the biggest mistakes Naresh Goyal ji has committed. Anyway, leaders have to take decision, but it was a blunder. And you can see the history of aviation. Wherever a company has been acquired by another company, the parent company vanished from the market in the process. The best example is Air Deccan versus Kingfisher. They acquired it and Kingfisher is out of business. It's not about acquisition only. When Jet Airways acquired Air Sahara by paying 20 to 50 crores, they got 27 aircrafts and 13,000 employees. It's a white elephant. So he was having very, very ambitious plan. It was a bad investment. And on the top of that, putting salt on the injury is 2008's financial recession. So whatever ambitious plans Mr. Naresh Goyal was having have gone into the hole because of the 2008 financial recession. In 2005, whatever money he has earned out of his IPO, that time the share price was at its highest, 1100. It has never come back to that level. So whatever money they have earned from that IPO, they have lost it in the process because, one, they have spent 2,250 crores Indian national rupee to buy Air Sahara, and the second one, they have purchased, some more aircrafts. So they have spent everything. So there was a liquidity crisis also. So on the one side, he was bleeding from low-cost carriers. The other side, he was having a liquidity crisis. Third, he has taken tremendous debt. Is one of the major reasons why Jet Airways failed. Almost 11,000 crore. And the banks who have funded him, predominantly State Bank of India and Punjab National Bank, along with others. By 2015, he was sitting with 11,000 crore debt and 3,500 crore losses. It's huge, 15,000 crore money he has to pay. Then he requested State Bank of India for 400 crores, but they said, no, already you are a defaulter. Then he requested the government for 150 crores because they have to pay the salaries of the employees. Government again said no. And it created a problem for Jet Airways. In 2013, they got $380 million from Etihad. And it helped them a lot. But they were requiring more money. They have requested 400 crores from the banks. But banks are already burdened. And they were not having confidence on Jet Airways. So they said, man, you are not paying the EMI already and we are not here to fund further. Then Mr. Naresh Goyal requested Government of India to sanction 150 crore bailout package, at least to pay salaries of their employees for 1 month. When both the things are in problem, 17th April 2019, Jet finally said hands up, and they declared cancellation of all the flights, and the last flight was from Amritsar to Mumbai. And that's how Jet landed badly on the ground. Once upon a time, the king of the sky have badly injured, wounded, and on the ground. It's very unfortunate. So ladies and gentlemen, I have a question for you. Do you think Jet will come back on its feet once again? What are your comments? Please share your comments below. Now ladies and gentlemen, let's sum up. What are the reasons that have contributed to the downfall of Jet Airways? The first reason, leadership failure. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody, when you come to my motivational sessions and corporate training programs, I always talk about this thing, how to manage business. If the leader doesn't carry discipline, ethics, integrity, he doesn't work with a vision and mission and think about the employees and stakeholders, then the problem will happen. And this is a classic example here. Mr. Naresh Goyal started with the right intention, but as a leader, he was not able to manage the show. So the first thing for which Jet Airways died, a premature death, is the leadership failure. So ladies and gentlemen, my entrepreneur brothers and sisters, be careful about your leadership. You have to walk the talk. You cannot only go for espoused values, only saying and blah, blah, blah. You have to have enacted value, that you have to do whatever you are saying. And you have to be a great leader. Leadership failure is one of the major reasons why companies go down in the history of business. You can see that. The second one is debt. And this is particularly relevant to all my entrepreneurial and startup friends. Don't take too much of debt. Don't try to scale up too quickly. Take your time. Have your unique selling proposition. I mean, see, it's very interesting why you have purchased Air Sahara by paying 20-50 crore to fight with low-cost carriers. That's their unique selling proposition. You are a full-service carrier. So you could have created brand value through your unique selling proposition and unique positioning. But what he did, he neglected the domestic market and he has gone to the international routes, which are longer hauls. So your fuel requirement is high. So in case there is any problem in the international fuel market, you'll be going to have problem. So he neglected the domestic market. He thought and assumed he's the undisputed king in the domestic market, which was not the case. And these guys have come and created disruption. And the way Indigo managed the case, we will have another video, it's already prepared, on how Indigo ruled the market as a leader for a longer time. We'll see that in next editions. If you want to see that, please comment below. So the second reason is the debt, 11,000 crore debt. Third reason why Jet Airways failed is greed and false ego. Why you have spent 20-50 crores to buy Air Sahara? I mean, Mr. Subrata Roy was very clever to sell it off. Why you have purchased that? You got 27 aircrafts only, and you have got 13,000 employees. I mean, this was complete greed and lack of vision, lack of clarity. So this was the third reason why Jet Airways failed. Greed and ego, bad financial management. Fourth reason why Jet Airways failed. When you issued your IPO in 2005 and you got good amount of money, you could have kept it or you could have rotated in the form of investment. But you have invested to buy Air Sahara on one hand. The other hand, you spent unnecessary money to acquire aircrafts. And then later on, you start your leasing business because, you didn't got the number of passengers you required for all these aircrafts and it was empty. So to fulfill that, you are in a turmoil. One side you are fighting with low-cost carriers, which are forcing you to bleed. And the other side, you need to fill your seat. Otherwise, your variable cost will be very, very high. Anyway, there is a fixed cost. So to recover fixed cost, you have to have numbers. So both way, it was very, very bad financial management, which leads to 3,500 crore loss. Fifth reason is unprofessional management. I mean, Mr. Naresh Goyal has never left power. You centralized all the powers with yourself. Though you have appointed a CEO, Mr. Dubey, from Delta Airlines, he was planning to do a lot of things, but he was not having absolute power. So you could have created a professional management. I mean, this will be very interesting in a corporate governance case study. What governance? Where is transparency? Where is accountability? I mean, you have tossed everything for your own interest and greed. The sixth point, which is very important point, which led Jet Airways to close down, is unnecessarily you have started fighting with low-cost carriers. I mean, you cannot be both, because after acquisition of Air Sahara, he converted it into Jet Light. But, you cannot operate in both the ways. So you have neglected your domestic operations for a longer time, and suddenly you venture into the domestic market when these guys are having, like more than 50% market share. You ventured into that with the acquisition which is not appropriate at all at that time. You've lost your liquidity position. And you go on reducing fare and fare and fare. But basically your passengers prefer you because it was a psychographic profiling for you. Passengers like Jet Airways for its absolute great service and the brand equity. But you have lost it. So now you are confused between full service and your low-cost carriers. So you need to have your unique selling proposition first. You need to have point of parity, I agree. So you need to operate in both the sectors. But you need to have the point of differentiation as well. And your point of differentiation at Jet Airways was the brand perception and the loyalty of your passengers because of your extraordinary service and value. You lost it. You have deviated a long way from your core competence. So these are the 6 reasons which led to the failure of Jet Airways. Ladies and gentlemen, please leave your comments. What do you think? What are the other reasons which led Jet Airways to close down? Thank you very much for your patience listening. I hope this video will be of tremendous help to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed. If you have already subscribed, thank you very much. Please leave your comments below. How did you like the case study analysis? If you want to see something else in times to come, in different videos, please mention that also. Please visit my website www.tdswai.com. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience listening. I do hope Jet Airways should revive at the earliest. Let's hope for the best. What do you think? Do you think Jet Airways should come back on its own feet very soon? If it is so, please leave your comments below. Thank you very much.